Hey, everybody, welcome back. And it feels really good to be back in the studio and to say Happy New Year. Happy New Year to all of you, and I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful break. So now I can announce that I'm going to be doing this podcast once a week. So look for it in your inbox. Make sure you subscribe so that you get the announcements. And also, like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you're on the audio podcast, please rate and comment. I want to say a quick hello and thank you to our friends at movitajuicebar.com and our friends here at Outer Circle Media, where we record this podcast. You're asking, what is this mug? Well, this is the new Black Heart mug at shoprafa.com. So go to shoprafa.com to get all of the good stuff that I have there. And our guest today is none other than one quarter of the famous group Chicano Batman, Eduardo Arenas. Let's welcome him in the studio. Let's get to it. Welcome in the studio, Señor Eduardo Arenas.
My brother.
What's up with the big at the beginning of your name? Why did you decide to go with the
Because it's something that it's like some Portuguese thing.
Oh, okay.
Like means is.
Okay.
And I just is. I tell you.
I was wondering this morning, actually, if you did it just to be separated from other arenas out there, or if it was like, I didn't want to use my whole name, but yeah, so it does have more meaning than just an initial.
The other only Arenas that I know that's like prominent is Gilbert Arenas, the Washington Wizards basketball player.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's, we're not related.
Okay.
But I think it's an interesting process of how to rebrand yourself as an artist. And if I had to do it over again, I would have called myself a band. I think that's always cooler because you can put the band in front of you, the name, and then do all kinds of different experimental things in the back, and the band is constantly changing. But when it's your name, then you're basically being more upfront. That no, this is actually me, and I'm going through all these different phases. And some people get tired of people. Or, and looking at their same faces and, oh, he's still doing that or that kind of thing. But I think it's a twofold thing. But I think if I always actually wanted to call, I always had like two band names that I always wanted to call my projects. One, I don't know why, since I was in college, call it Yo No Fui, that's pretty classic. But I grew that one. The other one, though, my dad came up with this one. I wanted to have like a metal project and call it Goldilocks the Felon.
Goldilocks the Fallon.
Yeah, because my dad, he's a teacher. Well, he's retired now, but he taught second grade for like 30 years in Maywood. And he reads the stories to his kids. And he comes home and he's like, these stories are pretty gruesome. And he's like, for instance,
if you think about it,
the Goldilocks,
she's a thief. Yeah.
She's a thief.
She broke into the house.
She's white, gets away with crime. No one ever puts the blame on her. She's a felon. And I was like, that's pretty metal right there.
Yeah.
That's Goldilocks the Felon. That's, put her ass in jail.
I like that one. There is one of your videos that I saw online where you announced the band as we are Arenas, not just like I am Arenas and this is my band. So
that's a big statement because behind every one person or one team or one artist, there's a mad group of support. Family and friends and creatives, and man, the drive doesn't come from just one person. Like for me, my main drive comes from my vision to do music. I was born to do this. I've accepted that. It takes a long time to accept it, and then my wife really pushes me to like reach greater stuff, and so we work really well together. So that's my right hand like partner. And she helps me get organized too and meet my deadlines. And while I'm in my head still thinking about something, she's like, let's get it down. And but just my band that I've rocked with for a bunch of years, Kevin Martin from Brain Story and Chip Vasquez, Christian, who plays with Marinero and Bardo in my band. And, who else? Austin Ford from Big Fun, Will Logan, the drummer, he plays with Aloe Black and he plays with everybody. And who else is in there? Federico Zuniga, who plays with Marisol a lot. He plays a lot of bass and Leona.
You surrounded yourself with just amazing talent. So it helps push it forward, and like knife sharpens knife and all that, right?
Totally. Okay. What I like to do is put myself around musicians that are better than me,
Yeah.
and to where I don't have to play all the time, and I think that helps me free up my my message and my voice.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, even if it's just payasadas on stage, you know, which is kind of
Well,
fun.
that's is what it's all about.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot of
people
fun.
people like to be entertained, you know,
Yeah.
and the way I see it, if someone pays 10, 15, $30 to go see a
Yeah.
band, like they already know the songs.
Yeah,
You know, how are you going to entertain them with them? How are you going to entertain with the songs they don't know?
yeah.
You're just going to play it and you're going to let them go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, they
There's
here's the new
so
song.
much energy in your Arenas show. Like it just starts off like dan, 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 and it ends the same way. And
Yeah.
just like people bouncing and dancing the whole time. So much energy. What's the difference between like being the front man of Arenas, and you know, at the end you have final call on things, I imagine, and then being in Chicano Batman, where I've been in the room with you guys, and there's four great minds. You know, there's four great minds, and sometimes another mind in there that has also a great mind. And I've seen the way you guys work, where I respect it so much in how you guys respect each other. Like, there's a tremendous amount of like, when there is a clash, well, when I've seen, which is very little bit of a small percentage of the times you guys have actually been
Come
together.
around more often.
Yeah. But from what I've seen, there seems to be a really good way to deal with disagreements. Is that true? Or, you know, I don't know, tell me a little bit about both bands in that sense.
Well, disagreements are absolutely healthy.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that I think everybody in relationships and bands need to understand and process and accept.
Yeah.
Now, with every relationship, you grow to do things better. It didn't start off this way.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't start off this way at all. But we've learned I think one thing that happens too is you learn to respect each other for who you are.
Yeah.
You're not going to change. You've been trying to get someone to do something for the last 5, 7 years. Like, you're the crazy one. You know what I'm saying? Like, get that into your head. You're the crazy one
trying
for
to
trying to change somebody that is obviously not going to change.
Yeah.
You know, so then what's really harder to do is look at yourself then, and why you're not willing to accept someone, you know, and what part of you is so rigid and not flexible that you're unwilling to change your point of perspective. And those are things that you don't actually expect when you start riffing and playing songs that you will end up dealing with. You know, how to give someone rope.
Yeah.
You know, how to trust.
Yeah.
And I think that's the bottom line is if you don't have trust, then you don't have a band.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes it's a leap of faith. You know, somebody in the band will have in Chicano Batman will have a weird idea, and I don't like it. You know, and before I used to be like, nah, it's whack. It sounds like Red Hot Chili Peppers one song, or it sounds like Blink-182, and I did that most. Carlos, I did that a lot to Carlos. He would come up with a song, and then I would always narrow it down to like 2 songs that it sounds like, and it would always piss him off, you know. And I loved it, you know. I loved it. And mind you, this was before I got sober, before I stopped drinking alcohol, which is something else we can talk about. Since we are on Dancing Sober. But now I learned not to do that because it doesn't actually help the situation, you know. Unless we're both messing around and there's the trust is there and the playing field is open to laugh and that kind of thing, yes. But when you're in a serious situation, then, you know, I saw a sign at Chewy, the homeboy that makes coffee at Primera Taza, when he was at the spot by the art. I'm not gonna call it shit,
By the
Arts
kiosk.
District.
Oh, the one on Anderson.
On Anderson. Arts District in Boyle Heights. Come on now, get out of here. There's a sign there that says like, be responsible for the energy you bring in the room. You know, and I always saw that and I was like, that's absolutely true, because you're going to go blaming people for something you said, an attitude you brought in that you're not willing to follow up on or take responsibility on or adjust, then there's something wrong with what you're doing, and your angle needs to change. So those are things that have happened through time with Chicano Batman, how to learn to respect that what everyone brings to the table is valuable. It's different, but there's a lot of value in being different, you know. And also the other thing is giving it a shot, because it's really easy for us in the past. What we've done is, man, if our demos are not polished and like mixed and great to show each other, then we're not really interested. Like if you just bring a chorus, you know, on a voice memo, people be like, oh, that's cool. You know? And so...
so you bring songs to each other to be like, hey, listen to this. Let's try this song.
That's one way we do it. What we really want to do is get in a room and play
do it together.
Just do it together. But that you know, that's a luxury, man. That's of time and space. And so that's always very difficult. But we toss a lot of ideas around. Bardo writes a lot of music, and he's prolific like that. And so Carlos is now getting into production game and mixing, and he also writes amazing. And his sound spectrum of the songs he's creating is like, it's nothing I can do. I don't do that, you know. And for me, my challenge is how to write songs in English and sing them. I'm most comfortably singing in Spanish because I feel that's my first language, and that's where my storytelling comes from, that perspective. Like my thing is, I always want to like talk to the tia in the back, you know. That's my thing.
That's what it feels like.
You know, I always want to talk to the tia and the tias to make sure they're getting the message. Because
it's like you're explaining LA culture to your tias in your songs. It's like,
hey tia, this is what's happening now.
This is happening now.
Check it out. And so, but I think now we're all in a very, very good place to where we all know the value of each other, like you're saying. And this is natural in a relationship that's been 13 years long. Yeah. You know, and we're also grew differently. We've sharpened some, like I didn't start off as a bass player. I mean, I started off as a bass player. I played bass first time when I joined Chicano Batman.
Oh, really?
You know, so I had to learn to play bass in this band. And at first I was just playing all kinds of notes and trying to be like Victor Wooten and all these bass players that like, you know, that just play a lot of notes. And then after Invisible People, I just really learned how to serve the songs and just mature. And you're like, just get out of the way, make room for vocals, just get funky, you know, and just like move the body, not move, don't move the ear so much, you know. And so your roles start readapting, and that's just one thing. Like someone's got to be good with. There's only you know, one guitar chord in the song, and you're gonna play this the whole time. But that serves the song, and it serves this person's vision. So why wouldn't you attempt that, you know, so that we can have someone's vision carried out? Yeah, that's a big boy stuff. Like that's really hard to do. Yeah, that's really, because you're like, oh well, you know, I work just as hard. I should be able to do what I want. You know, and in art, you know,
well, in collaboration,
you know, it's like I said, it's not really a democracy. You know what I'm saying? It's like if the vision is bigger somewhere, then gravitate towards that vision, because we're gonna get something done quicker and something more complete. And along the way, we can adjust and do things. But I like to feel where the energy's at. Yeah. You know, sometimes when I like recording, we do most of our tracking live. So I like that because you just never know what's going to happen at the end. You just never know. It'd be like someone said something and be like, oh, that's funny.
So all of your tracks, when it's the final one, they're all recorded at the same time, right?
For the most part, except for the last 45 we did, which we did in quarantine for Pastel Sunrise and Dark Star. But actually, Dark Star, we did track that live. So what we do is we track as much of the live instruments as we can, drum and bass always, and then guitars and that kind of thing. So we get the energy of the room between the four of us, because that's something you cannot really emulate. Yeah, I mean, that's what Chicano Batman is. And we realized that throughout the years. It's like it's the four of us in a room playing together. Yeah, you know, and as diverse as each one of us is, that's what makes it work. Yeah, and there's tension in between that makes it work. You know, if it's all flowing in the same direction, it wouldn't be the same thing.
No, part of the magic is the tension. Like the tension of like, this motherfucker's gonna be mad at me, I'm gonna play the shit out of this, you know? And then vice versa, like we're both gonna play the shit out of this to get us to a certain fucking place where everybody's happy. So it kind of like drives each other, right?
Totally. And I think it's like wherever there's tension, there's release, you know, and anticipation. You know, and I think for me, those are the main things in writing and playing music. It's like, how do you work? I don't really care about the A major 7 to, you know, this other chord and whatever. I mean, I don't read music. I kind of understand general terms. For me, it's like, you know, how do you shake that ass? You know, how do you create tension, and when are you going to release it? How do you create tension on a way to something really happy?
Yeah.
Or how do you get out of happiness and go sad without people noticing? You know, these are the things that to me are universal in what people feel, you know? So it's like, how to figure out how to get that without being too technical about it, you know? So, you know, a relationship like that with Chicano Batman is, man, in retrospect, it's a beautiful one, because we've had an opportunity to grow as brothers. And it's funny because, say, brothers are the people you don't choose, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, we ended up in a band together, 4 random ass dudes that now know how to get it done, you know?
Before going back to the origins of Chicano Batman, how is that all this different than how when you play with Arenas in that band?
Bluntly said, Cardenas is what I thought Chicano Batman was going to be. You know? But then I realized I'm only one member of 4. You know what I'm saying? So from the very beginning, I showed Bardo a few of my demos back before the band got started. I said, this is the kind of stuff I'm working on. And I showed him some emo Brazilian shit that I was working on, and then something else. And then I showed him one cumbia. I was like, oh, this one I'm just messing around. And it was Manzanita. And he was like, oh, this was it. I was like, oh, why you want to mess with this? All right, this is like like my little chuti collection, you know, like, you know, all right, we can mess with it. And so we played it all the time. We recorded it. And for me, it's like, I want to do more of like that, you know, because for me, it's like, you know, connecting with a people. My friend Federico, one time we were working on a song, and we're trying to think of a melody, and we're having some food somewhere. And then on the way back, we see some people crossing the street. And then he tells me, you got to ask yourself, like, are they going to sing the melody? And I was like, dang, just some regular, like, working class people crossing the street, holding 2 kids in the hand. Like, how are you going to get to them? And I said, ooh, well, that's it. Yeah. Another time, it would be like, we'll be coming up with the chords, and he's like, is your tia going to dance this in the kitchen? And I was like, man, you're hitting it right on the head. It's like, nope, too many notes.
Yeah.
There's too many notes. There's too many notes.
Too many notes.
Let's stick to 3 notes. So one thing in my band is it comes down to this. I am nostalgic as hell. You know, I'm a mega cancer, and I love paisa music, and I like it way more than I ever knew. You know, and my uncles grew up playing temerarios, bukis, you know, tucanes in a band, and I would be like the roadie. You know, bring the beers, connect the stuff. You know, help load things out. My padrino really hooked me up like that. So I kind of always had it in me to want to be involved with something bigger like that. But I think playing this kind of music now, it allows me to connect with them because I don't see them as much anymore. But when they hear it, they're like, ese pelón. You know, they call me pelón when I was a kid. So it's like cohesive. It's like glue from my family to keep it together. And then sometimes, like I have this one song called that I plan to put on my next album. It's called La Barredora, and it's a cumbia. And it's basically, I hit up my cousin who lives in Boyle Heights, and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about writing the song about La Barredora. Like, what's the drama on your block when the street cleaner comes? and she's like, oh my God, so you don't understand. It's drama. Heights, It's because on Tuesday you have to move it from 2 to 4, but then on Wednesday it's 2 to 4 the other side. But then they parked, and I'm just like, Giselle, this is perfect. Like, I need to write all this down, you know. So then I do a song about that, you know, and it's just like, and now that song is from my tia's house in Boyle Heights. I was like, this is for you, and I don't know. I just like being thoughtful about that, you know, having a bigger vision about family and traditions and how we're doing things differently now, you know, and how things used to be, you know. That's the contradictions. I like a lot of contradictions, like, you know, eating low low sugar cereal with almond milk.
Yeah.
You know, when you grow up eating like, 2% and Tutti Fruities, not even Fruity Loops, Fruit Loops,
The fake ass
the
ones.
fake ass ones, malto meal.
There's a big thing in the code switching that we have to do, where we perform for our friends, and by perform I mean just being around our friends and perform for our friends, and then we perform for our family when we come home, and we're sometimes a different person, not necessarily like that you change to be a different person, but you just you talk that different language, and you kind of try to strike different chords, right? I guess. And so like with the family, there's always something that you still want to like get their approval, right? Because there's like everybody loves you, but you still want to come home and be like, you want your family to also like be like really proud of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so is that, I mean, obviously that's part of like the drive, is to always have them also approve what you do, I imagine.
Totally. It's a lot easier to play this kind of music than metal. You know what I'm saying? Because, one thing during the pandemic, we had an opportunity to talk to a lot of kids and things like that, like during Zoom calls and mentorship programs, that kind of thing. And when they ask for advice, I'd say like, if you're in a band and you're living at home, wash dishes.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Cook, clean, because in actuality, the first supporters that are going to be there for your music is probably your parents, and then your friends, and then if you keep creating your art, then you might have some followers and some fans, and then then you'll deal with it then. But you cannot get to the followers and the fans without washing dishes. It's like, because at some point you're just going to be like at home, eating cereal at 3:30 p.m. when you're waking up, and then your room's a mess, and then you're not doing nothing, and then you just want to be like a musician. Yeah. It's a responsibility, and it's a lot of work, like any craft. Like excellence is not by mistake. You know what I'm saying? That's a habit. Like, you need to keep doing it.
Excellence is a habit.
It's a habit. I read that. I mean, I heard that somewhere. An author said that excellence is a habit, and that just knowing that will blow your mind, because everyone wants to be the it.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel sorry for the culture now, that just like on the TikTok, viral thing, like it's like warping, like second level Mario Brother. When you go to the, the
it's a cheat code.
It's a cheat code, man. And
that's true. Yeah.
Like my baby right now, he's on to skating, man. Like he's like a little skater.
But he's tiny.
He's 1 year and 8 months. But what I see him do is repetition. And I was kicking it with my wife, and I was like, man, I respect repetition. Yeah. I was like, I remember when I was in high school and I would play guitar all day, the same thing. I remember when I played basketball, shooting free throws, the same shots, same layups, all the time to get good. I was like, if you're not competitive with that, you cannot get good. Or like, working out with your body is like, it's the same reps to get the results you want. And I'm seeing him do that, and I'm like, man, I missed that. I missed the art of repetition, right? The patience,
or the fucking the attention to, or just the ability to stay on one thing for a long time,
right? The block out everything else. I feel like with Instagram and all the social media platforms, it's like the validation you're looking for is not within. Many times it's from other people, but the other people feels good when it is your family. Back to that. And I think with quebraditas, I grew up in a house with my tia. She's like my tia, my mom, my aunt is like the alpha. She passed away a few years ago. She's the one I did a song called Buñuelos a Montón, a Christmas song. So she passed. That was the first year we were without her. So I went all in. And I remember, man, I played that song at my family's house when everybody was there, and I had to walk outside. I was like, nah, this is like I've already listened to the song like 300 times, and I just gave it to them. My wife was saying like, man, they're just like tearing, because it brought her back.
That's a trip.
It brought her back, and I was just like, that's exactly. I don't care about anything else. It's just like my family felt my tia back. That's all I wanted to do. But my tia, she would dance everybody in the kitchen. Everybody had a song, el sonidito, el como que el tío. I don't know. Like there's so many songs, La Chona, that every kid like, oh, esa era su canción when he was tiny, So I always think about doing a song where like someone's gonna dance a baby in the kitchen.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
So those are like my goals.
Yeah,
you know, bring family together, get people talking to their mom.
Yeah.
You know, their tias. Like I did a song called El Nopalito.
Yeah.
And the premise on that was, talk to your family about how to get the slimy baba off of the nopal, so that you don't have to just look on YouTube all the time and think that that's the answer for everything.
I never realized that's about.
So yeah, so it's just like, you know, your ancestors are here right now.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a grandma, give her a kiss, and hopefully you have a good relationship, because they're gonna be gone.
Yeah. How does your mind work? I mean, this is what I like to ask all the time, is like, I try to get to like the core of like where your thought process is and where your changes are and stuff like that. So you have all these songs that are like crazy, fun, wild, like fast, and you know, they're groovy. They want you to dance all the time. But then you have something like God, what is that song called? I can't remember the name now. But you have these slower songs that are more thoughtful and like pensativos and have more of like a soundtrack vibe, you know, more like of a just a soundscape that takes you in your head somewhere, you know, like Lagartijo or something like that, right? How does that like flip in your head to take you to something like that?
I think, well, I put out an album called...
What is the one called? Permission
for Indifference.
That one. So good.
Dude, I'm so drama, bro. So on Nariz, the album that you're referring to with all
That's
these
another
songs,
question I had is like, why Nariz? But we'll get to that after.
Nariz is simple. It's because I, for many, many years, I like just lock up in my head and I just start thinking of something and I just freeze since I've been a kid. So what I end up doing is my head, my wife told me about this because she's like, you look disgusting. Like, and you know, so I would just lean my head
What?
and thought, and then stop breathing and just be like this.
That's hilarious.
And then my wife would be like, Nariz.
Oh.
And I'm like, sorry, okay.
Take a breath.
Take a breath.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
She would do that for years.
Yeah.
I think
she kept you alive, bro.
She kept me alive. She kept oxygen. She's like,
Remember
you
to
need
breathe,
oxygen in your brain if we're gonna be together.
Oh, that's such a good one.
So she helped me throughout the years. So just to unlock myself, just recognize that I'm actually doing that.
Yeah.
So now I don't really do that anymore. But that album was just a breath of like a fresh air.
Yeah.
It's just like a deep inhalation for me. It's just like getting all these songs that I've had for such a long time and putting them out. Permission for Indifference is a cryptic song that I never told my brother. It was a song about being okay to be different. You know, I have a brother that I grew up, we're only 1 year apart. So, you know, you wear the same clothes, same shoes, everything, same music, same CDs, all that kind of thing. And at some point, I was like, man, we're totally different, you know? But that part of like, oh, you think you're all bad because you're wearing that now? That kind of like, brother, that's how we grew up. Also, you think you're all bad now. You know, that's like the thing you say to anybody that you're still cool with.
When you listen to that first George Lopez album, he was talking about people like us back then.
Totally.
Oh, you think you're bad now?
My brother, I remember one time I visited him in Salinas because he's an assistant principal up there. I walk into the room. I haven't seen him in like 6 months. And he's like, Dom, you can't just walk in here with new shoes, not say nothing. I was like, oh my God, I miss you too, bro. You know, and I'm like, damn, I have to be on my game around you. And that's like, but Permission for Indifference was just like basically saying like, I don't need like your permission to be different anymore. Like I'm just gonna be it, and we should be okay with doing this, and we could go our own ways now. And it's kind of a sad, necessary thing in any relationship, to where like if you have differences, then you need to go your way.
It's a melancholic song, so it's like definitely like I can imagine you were in that thought, right?
Totally. And there's another song I called Zancudo, and this is from another friend, Jose Cano. I don't know if I ever told him this. But it's so cryptic, man. This song that I sang in Portuguese. And when I was living in Brazil in 2010, he was always like, so what's your plan, bro? Like, what's your plan? And what are you going to do out there? What's your plan? He's all obsessed about asking for plans. I'm like, bro, I just done shirt and tie for like 6 years, man. Like, you know, like, you know, 9 to 5. Like, I'm off that grid now. I quit. Like, I don't know. I don't know. And I don't care. And you need to stop asking me this. But I didn't have the guts to tell him to like, shut up. So I just wrote a song basically like, el zancudo. You're just out here sucking out my blood when I'm just trying to like really like figure it out for myself. And so there was a lot of songs like that were just kind of like cryptic, because at that moment I wasn't ready to be vulnerable, like fully out, you know. And I think I'm ready now. And my new set of songs, which I'm trying to, in the next coming months, I'm going to wrap them. I have to write a couple more lyrics and stuff, but this is way more forward, way more forward. I told myself that.
Is there names and addresses in the song?
Oh yeah, bro. Like they like if I'm talking about a certain person, I calling them out.
Oh my God.
You know, like it's like I have a song in there about my dad, you know. And I think my biggest asset and strength is in 2022 is just sincerity. You know, I think with the platform that I've created throughout the years with my music, and I think the fan base has gotten a lot younger, which I appreciate.
The ones that were 17 back then are now 21 and
now 21, and then some of them are actually getting young. Chicano Batman fans, man. When we just did our tour, man, people be young. Yeah, young. I'm just like, damn, these people are gonna and singing the new album.
Yeah, actually, a niece of my sister's side of the family, her husband's side, was like, "Did I see you taking pictures of Chicano?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I would have never imagined she'd be there." But yeah,
exactly.
Really young girl from San Francisco was in LA at the Shrine.
Wow,
seeing you guys. Yeah, so
see, that's humbling. Because people are making an effort to go see what it is we're doing. Yeah, you know, and they take it home and they share it with their friends, and then we live on, you know, for a few more years. And so I have the benefit of being in Chicano Batman and using some of that attention for my side project. That's a fact. You know, that's how it works. Yeah. You don't just do your side project and expect no crossover. You need it, and you earned it. But it's a lot of work. Yeah. And people don't really understand how much work one band is. It's incredible. It's like it's as deep as you want to go with it. Yeah. You know, sometimes you need to step out to be still sane, because and I'm not even talking about the music. You know, I'm talking about, you know, the merchandising and the branding and like all the different like deals you're trying to work with, placements on TV shows and potential stuff, potential collaborations. Like, you know, we have potential collaborations with like 3 different artists that they don't go anywhere, you know? And it's just like someone needs to lift momentum somewhere to get something going, and then it goes and it stops, and then something happens and COVID hits, and then we have...
So it's hard to announce shit before it fucking comes out.
No, so sometimes you do something and it's like, oh, this is amazing, let's get this out ASAP. And then it goes a year and a half and there it is, the packaging. You're like, oh, this is lame. This is so late already. Like, we're already like way ahead of this.
Your head is somewhere else completely.
So it's really hard as an artist to be able to use that momentum on something it's just like past, gone. 2 years. That was 2 years ago. Like, I'm not even on this. Because when we're doing Freedom is Free tour for Chicano Batman, we're like, man, we've been playing these songs for like 3 years. You know, like.
That's a really interesting like topic of like how when you write a song, that's you in that moment at that time and that night at 3 fucking a.m. when you're writing the song down and you have these thoughts, and then to have to do that again 6, 10, 15 years down the line to do the same song, it doesn't no te sale igual, like no te nace igual de ti, but it's still you. So how do you like deal with that kind of like continue to find something new in it?
The first and the most important thing is don't write a sucky song. You know, and like that's pretty much
rule number one. Don't write a sucky song.
Nah, because every time you sing it,
don't write a sucky song.
It's gonna suck, and people are gonna want it. You know, I mean, I always imagine that's what like Kiss's "I Wanna Rock and Roll," because that song is like, oh, it's so terrible, it's amazing. You know, I heard it on the radio the other day and I was like, well, that's an anthem.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, well, shit, if I was going to be rich, I had to play that song, you know, and paint my face, I'd do it too. But
that's funny.
It's just like, don't write a sucky song. Like, one song that I sing a lot is La Jura. I mean, you know, we play it all the time. And La Jura is a song about this one dude from a gang that got killed a few houses down from where we grew up. And, you know, they shot him in the back and in front of his mom's house.
Breed Street?
On Cornwell. Yeah, so the gang was called the Tiny Boys. So, and this house, man, there's like, I don't know, like 4 or 5 members that got killed, drive-bys and different things like that. So we grew up around them, and and they were friends with my cousins, that kind of thing. So association was close. So he got shot after coming out of jail, and so I was in college, I think freshman year at USC, and I was just thinking like, man, they're gonna catch this cop is going to jail. You can't just do that. And little did I know, like here we are now. Yeah. Anyone, cops can kill anybody. Like even that girl that just got killed in, oh my God, North Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I just heard in the news today that he's not on leave.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying that he did his job exactly how it's supposed to be done. He had just finished shooting people to death school. What do you call that?
Wow.
So he was like trained, and so everyone's backing him up. And of course, that's the way the system is set up. So I was like, man, this deserves to be in a song. So I told Bardo about it, and we wrote some lyrics for that. And whenever I sing it, literally, like it could be a happy song right before, but when we're singing it, I'm like, go to the dark place, go to the dark place, and really tell these people what it is you're really trying to say.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't know, the first year I'd just be crying,
Yeah.
at the shows, and I was like, well, that's the only way I can sing it and be convincing.
Yeah.
Because one thing that I've learned performing is it's the art of conviction.
Yeah.
It's the art of conviction.
You're acting. I mean, you're being. I don't want to say acting like you're faking it, but you're doing what actors do. Is like you take yourself to that place, and every song does take you to a different place, especially when it's something like this. So, yeah, and especially I could imagine like you're talking to the same brown faces, and so just like to let that come out.
Yeah, and they will mirror what you're doing. So if you're emotional about it, they're gonna give that back to you, and you need that. You need that to keep working for the next 45 an hour. And so for me, I tap in when I do cumbias. For me, like that's why I like writing funny cumbias, because I like being humorous, and I can't fake that. That's just like naturally it just comes out.
But sometimes they're really serious, like La Linea Tommy's. I mean, that's serious.
Serious song. It's about diabetes, And sometimes, man, my songs.
That's awesome, dude.
My songs start off like about diabetes or high cholesterol or like something more sad. My wife be like, tone it down. I'm like, yeah. She's, make it more friendly. Like people don't want to like dance to some serious thing like that. I was like, all right. Let me tone it down. And then I just find, some other general thing to talk about that everyone can relate to. And and that's the one thing about cumbias is like there's so many more to be had.
Yeah.
Because there's so many situations that you can write about. So many types of people that everyone can relate to. And it's just
going back to the Tommy's thing, and I think you and I have this thing in common where I'm sure a lot of people do, but just this strong connection to the city, and in your work, like you pretty much sometimes talk about the city in itself and how it has made you. And I guess that connects also to you studied urban planning.
I did.
And taking that into consideration too, how does all that connect you to the city and how it comes out artistically, or do you even plan it, or does it just come out naturally? You don't even think about it.
When I was at USC studying urban planning, it was it was fascinating because it's kind of like sociology mixed with architecture. And for me, what I did is I used my growing up in Boyle Heights and being around the east side, because I went to school on the east side, Griffith Middle School and things like that. I had a lot of friends in East LA. I used those walkable communities like Cesar Chavez or Brooklyn at the time and Whittier as models for what I wanted to present cities should look like. Because there was a movement called New Urbanism, and this was early 2000s, and it was real serious. It was you ever seen Truman Show?
Yeah.
So where they're living in that perfect utopia? So that was a real neighborhood built in Florida. And the idea is houses are smaller, you're closer to your neighbors, live, work, you can walk to wherever your stores and that kind of thing. But the reality is there's no space for that kind of thing. There's the infrastructure is already built. If you built a new urbanist community, then it's like, the projects that were, well, not the projects, but where Aliso Village used to be, that is based on the new urbanist principles. So it's basically how to economize the footprint of the housing and create more housing, have everything closer and be okay. Like you don't need the yard. You don't need all this space to fulfill your life. You can be closer and it should be okay. So I was like, Boyle Heights, everyone's close as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Everybody walks to go get milk. There's a panaderia. Everybody walks to go to school on the main boulevard. So what I did is like I found a little hack, in college, that I had access to all of this because I knew it firsthand. So I would make it academic, with all the literature review and all that bullshit, and I would bring it to the classroom, take nice photos and do that whole thing, do exactly what everybody else is doing on their projects and then present it. And it would bring me close to home. Well, still stay home. I never left LA. And then, but it would also open up a lot of minds and perspectives. And I'm thinking, this is where my power's at right here. It's already in me. I don't have to learn something new and pretend that I have a new idea for something else that I don't know anything about. So that's what I would do. And so, and I worked in city planning for a long time in City of Huntington Park.
Oh, no way.
And I was there for 5 years. And that's, it's a different reality going to school and doing something in real life. So I was working in community development, and we were doing like HUD, housing and urban development at the federal level would give grants to the city, and I would help manage those grants. A couple $1 million to do like lead poison prevention and rehab homes, painting homes, solar panels, homeless prevention, especially in 2008 when the crisis came down, the bubble hit, and there's a lot of crazy shit happened at the city level. But everything is the exact same thing every year. Exact same thing every year. And it changes only when new politicians come into power. And then the needs of the city are different now. And but I remember we would buy properties and then we would tear them down and rebuild. And that really affected me a lot. I didn't like that at all, especially when you're going to see the properties for the initial inspection with a construction manager, and there's these families. Sometimes, there'd be like 13 people in a studio apartment, and only 3 of them on the lease.
Wow. And
then you see the electrical outlets, and there's like 15 things on one thing, and the construction managers are like, the dryer is venting into the kitchen,
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh man, the issues are much bigger than rehab.
Yeah.
Like this is not the only thing this rehab's gonna do is gonna make it more expensive for them to come back and live here. And I'd be telling them like, se va a poner caro. Like you guys have to you have to fight it, or I'd be the one like coaching them like, hey, you gotta like reality check. You've been paying how much? Are you $300 a month for the last 20 years?
Wow.
I'll tell you, this is gonna market value right now is $1,600. So do the math. Like, we'll talk to the council members, because if you don't complain, they're gonna take your ass out of here. So what I'm trying to say is, I really had a problem with changing the way shit was, and I want to keep it how it is. And that's kind of like my detriment in this field of urban planning, because things are constantly moving. You knock things down, you rebuild, you gentrify, and so I was like, man, I don't want to do this. I'd rather be like, that's why I like your work, because you take pictures of what's happening and how things are now, and a lot of the images you take are how things were also, and things that are still lingering. It's like holding on to the last bit of that aesthetic that we remember, nostalgia. And I think you're probably one of the more, for me, prominent LA photographers. You're like the Don Normack, you know that dude?
I have no idea.
Like they're like the fucking Ansel Adams, bro, of the hood, bro.
That's funny. I'll look it up. Don Normack.
He's the guy that did the Chavez Ravine book. He did a photography book of Chavez Ravine, and I studied a lot of that when I was in college as another example of gentrification and urban renewal and that kind of thing. And so you see the pictures now, you're like, oh damn, there was a neighborhood here, and you see people like being carried out. You know,
I
with,
know the photos. Yeah.
you know, so all those photos were him, and so it's like in 20 years, you know, when it's just all white people in Boyle Heights, he'd be like, oh what? Who's
Let's not say that.
you know,
Boyle Heights is so far the strongest. Like
Bohai.
Bohi, they call it.
Bohi. Oh my god.
I did.
Nah, props to people that are like, there's a lot of organizations that are vocal about keeping Boyle Heights culturally significant,
Yeah.
you know, and for the people, you know, and I respect that. That's a lot of work and that's a lot of noise,
Yeah.
you know.
When you were in school and you were like trying to talk about gentrification and all that, I think it was around the same time that I was in school, but I was at ELAC. And I remember that when I first wrote an article for the school paper, the first sentence was like, Boyle Heights will have to learn a new word real soon.
Ooh.
Gentrification. And this was like before like the wave of everything. And it was already like bubbling underneath the surface, and people were, you know.
Yeah.
But there was only like 2 or 3 people that were vocal about it back then.
Yeah.
As opposed to now, like it all tipped over. But yeah, we were around like before all that happened and the differences and all that.
2004. That's when I was doing it.
Yeah.
No, I was doing it in 2003 at USC, and you know, I was definitely the only one talking about it. And this is where I'm talking about making my personal experience out in the street like academic, and then being able to use the right language and the right arguments to say certain things that you want to say about. So when I hit gentrification, I was looking for something to get mad about, you know, in college, because especially at USC, man, you don't fit in. You know, I grew up on the east side, and here at USC in my same city, and I'm like, I have culture clash. Like I you know, less than 10% of you are Latino, you know, and you just really can't relate. There's a lot of people who don't want to be there. You fought your whole life to get there. You know, it's like, I remember being in the writing class, and we're all intro. One guy's like, I don't want to be here. I was like, well, what are you doing here? My parents made me come here. I really want to be a race car driver. I'm just like, and this fool's like acing all his papers and everything, and I'm like, check out on, bro. Like, I'm over here getting C's, trying my ass off. He's getting A's and just like doesn't want to be there. And I'm like, man, this is a different level here, you know? Yeah. So it was like, once I hit gentrification, I was like, oh, good. I can get mad about, and then 9/11 hit. So a lot of like Information Act stuff started coming in. So there's a lot of the reasons to be mad about, and gave me a lot of fire to keep searching for the truth, you know. And I think that's when gentrification for me was like my fire. I was like, okay, this is something that no one can say it's not going to happen, you know. And you know,
how did so now speaking about all these like political things and things that happen in our lives, how did like, taking it back to music, how did you guys like end up deciding to use the name Chicano Batman, which I mean has political meaning in it if you use the word Chicano, and how do you guys like decide like to like not be so hard political, or to be like, you know, maybe a little more like cryptic in songs, or how do you guys like manage that as a group?
The band name came from Bardo. So Bardo had that as a pet project. So it was just him having Chicano Batman was his little pet band, and he had a couple songs on MySpace, and then that's when he invited us to try to make them to come to life.
Oh, okay.
And then when we decided as a band name, he's like, what do you guys think of Chicano Batman? We're like, sounds cool. Let's go. Sounds good. Let's just move on, you know? And so he just took the lead on that. And not really knowing, you know, that we're going to still be together, you know, and that we have the name Chicano in our band name and Batman. It's random.
I know, it's such
super random name. And it comes with territory.
Yeah.
You know, it comes with territory. Like, sometimes we have to tell, we don't do it anymore because people don't do it, but in interviews, people have to be like, just no questions about like Bruce Wayne and all that shit. Like, you know, it's like,
That's hilarious.
which character are you from? All that shit. So it was just like, it was stupid. You know, they're downright stupid. And the other one, having the band link up as Chicanos, when one guy's Colombian, straight from Colombia, The other guy's like Salvadorian from Rialto. So everybody's experience about Chicanismo is very different. It's not like everyone was like a mecha. You know what I'm saying? Honestly, only Bardo and I were in mecha. You know, and even then, it serves its purpose when you're doing it, but you grow older and you start adapting to the world and you see things for how they really are and all the compromises you have to make in this world. And you're like, okay, well, that's, you know, at least we had the fire at some point to go and try to do things that are right, you know, and fair. So the interesting thing about being called Chicano Batman now is that the name Chicanos follows, you know, and I think I was talking about this the other day. It was like, whether we like it or not, like people will come to Chicano Batman for political ideology, you know, at some point, because I mean, El Chicano, you know, it's like kind of like essential. What are the bands called Chicano? There's several bands, but if you put the name Chicano on something, it's like you have by default some moral obligation to maintain integrity. And I think the way we maintain integrity is to write good songs, you know, and
representing properly,
and the lyrics, you know, and a lot of the lyrics are about love, and love is way political, especially if you're vocal about it, you know, especially if you're men talking about love in a public forum. And I think a lot of that is what we realized through time, because at first we figured like we have to have a political song, and you really don't. You just, music is one thing, but you talk to somebody outside of that, you know, and political ideologies are another thing. They don't have to be the exact same thing. They could if it's naturally there for you to do it. But in no circumstance do you ever have to try to be political unless that's your fire. And that's the only means to create songs. You know, so I think that's one of the interesting things about being called that. It's gonna last a long time, and people will see it as like for guidance. Young people.
I think you guys do like collectively like represent the Chicano experience still in a way. Like, I mean, you were all young Chicano people, and you're not. It's not like a hardcore political, you know, public enemy type of thing, but it's still representing you're saying, the love, I guess. You're right. Like and just like being in that space.
I definitely identify myself as Chicano.
Yeah, you know? I still do.
You know, totally. And I think it's more important now than ever because the generations are getting, there's so many more generations, you know, every like 2 years. I'm like, oh, there's way more new people coming in. I think a lot of them are looking for culture, looking for answers, looking for identity, looking for people that are like-minded that will express some kind of like their truth about how they got to where they're getting. Especially now, I like I was saying with the social media platforms and that kind of thing. People are like, one click doesn't identify you as anything. It was because you like one thing, and people will believe it, you know. But I think for me, it's a dope time to represent because of the connections and the inspiration that we can share with one another.
Did your parents? You said they were both teachers?
Yeah.
Were your parents political, or did that come from them, or did that come from just going to college?
Just going to college. I remember when I was there my freshman year, I saw a mecha table, and I was like, oh, brown people, you know, and I went
at USC.
Yeah,
or they had mecha there.
Oh, yep, it's the first week. So I didn't feel too lost. Like I remember I went to a frat party the first week, you know,
like, what the
and
fuck?
I was like on 28th Street, and I was like, oh, I nope. Nope. It's like, I don't even know where the beer's at. I don't want to ask anybody where the beer's at. Like, I don't know whose house this is. Like, what are we supposed to do? Like, get drunk, and then what happens? Like, like I'm lost. I don't feel at home. But my dad was a Vietnam War vet. So he's from the East Side. He's from East LA. And then when he came back, he got with the GI Bill, he was able to go to UCLA. So he studied philosophy, and then he became a teacher. And so my dad, he's always been political, but not like, you know, gung-ho, politicized in that way. But he's always known about politics. He's world politics. He's a super smart dude. And like, I could talk about Boris Nelson, like anything, and he'll remember all the stuff that happened, and I'm just like, damn, my dad, he knows what's up, you know. So he's always a reference for truth for me. And my mom's not been politicized. I mean, my mom is like came from Michoacan when she was a teenager and went to adult high school, and then, you know, had us, and then we went ELAC, and then after that went to Cal State LA. In fact, my mom graduated from Cal State LA the same day I graduated from high school.
Oh wow!
You know,
That's
so
awesome.
and then from there she went on to be a teacher. So my mom's a fighter, and she's super determined. She has a lot of tenacity, and she gets all A's, and she like, she doesn't take shit from nobody. And so that kind of like that was my reflection.
How now I'm interested, like, how was it when, like, now that your brother is like a vice principal somewhere, and like, and then you were like, I'm gonna go over here and do music, mom, dad. Like, what happened there with the family?
Oof. That's one thing that I'm blessed that I don't have to support my parents. You know, and I know a lot of my friends do, you know, especially when you go to college. You're like, you got to study something que te va a hacer dinero, because, you know, you're going to get an English degree for what? Ay, vas a ser maestro. Ay, you know. So I got to study. I mean, I went in as civil engineering. That was going to be my thing. And that's what I applied all colleges for. And I got in for that. But then I was like, this is boring, you know. Like, this is math, science. Math, science, and dudes, you know. And I was like, I'm not down. I went to Don Bosco Tech, so I was around all dudes. Fredo went to Bosco Tech. We talked about that when we were on tour with the Gogo Bordello.
Yeah, you talked about that 2 weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, how good it did and how much damage it did. You know, but I forgot what we were talking about. Bosco Tech.
Talking about your brother, like, going and being like, you know, academic school academia.
So, since I was in elementary school, I knew I had to go to college, and that's something I take for granted because not everyone like has.
Yeah, I didn't.
Like, my mom had that chancla on it.
I had, like, you have to get a job.
Oh yeah, see,
that was my thing.
So mine was like, no, we're doing this so you go to school. So we were in gifted classes from the very beginning, you know, advanced everything. High school, I was going to go to Garfield High School. My mom's like, nope, you're going to Bosco Tech. You know, so busted her ass to try to pay for that. And then was just like, you're going to college. So everything I ever did since I was in elementary school, it was to go to college, you know. So once you're in college, it's like you get a job with benefits and insurance and that whole thing. And you buy a house, and then, you know, and I tried that, you know, and I think at some point I just came to my own voice, be like, yo, listen, I did what y'all wanted me to do. And I think hasta aquí llegué. And I think I'm a musician. And that's super risky. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you have everything that you thought you needed, and then you realize you don't actually want it anymore, and you want this other non-tangible thing that you're gonna start chasing. And it's like, man, I'd never told anybody ever, even when I was in Chicano Batman, that I want to be a touring musician. Yeah, right. For what? I'm gonna waste my time, you know. And then all these arguments that I'd be getting into with my family, like, mijo, pero tienes una casa, tienes un trabajo, tienes this, that, this. I'm like, yeah, but you get it. I don't want it, you know. So when I had to tell my dad about that, it was like there were like 4 hour-long conversations about it. You know, they were at a complete shift about it. Like, boom, like hit a wall with my mom too. Really upset. Really upset. And I remember one time
at this point, were you already like recording or anything?
We had already, the first Chicano Batman album was out.
Okay.
And so it was like 2010.
Classic.
You know, so and so even that, like, we recorded that in my bedroom in Highland Park. It's just like, we didn't know anything, so we're like, let's just do it. We were trying to record a demo so we can have something to pass out at shows. And then it just started sounding good, and we kept adding more overdubs, and I was like, I'll mix it, you know. And then Gomez, our friend Gomez, would be like, you should get someone to master it. It'll make a big deal. I was like, what's mastering? You know, I'll do it. Oh, but louder? Yeah, I'll do that. You know, so I just made it louder, and it sounds like it sounds. People thought I was trying to go for like a lo-fi. I was like, that's hi-fi for me. I was like, that's the highest fi I can get. But so we're already involved, like, with these passion things, and we're really liking to do it. And so I just saved my money, you know, quit my job, and then I moved to Brazil with with Lore, my current wife, and then we moved to Panama. So I was just like off the grid for a while. I came back, did some subbing. That sucked. And then, but anything to make money. And it's like we were in like green dot schools, like in South Central and like East Side. And it's just basically places that the admin was not good. And the students were like, it's like a circumstance of education. And, it's just, it's
pretty bad.
No one cares about you either.
Yeah.
You go to a job where no one cares about you. Oh, during your free time, Mr. Arenas, can you come in and staple these packets? I was like, yeah, I'll go in there. I just ditch. I'd be ditching in my own room. Like during the free period, I'm like, I'm not fucking going to the main office. What? Paper clips? I ain't doing that shit. Fuck no. So I was like, man, I got to quit this job, man. So it's not until you make these decisions to quit and then to go into that, to reach that non-tangible passion thing, is that you realize that that's when you're really opening your heart to like align yourself with your brain and your purpose.
To let these things actually happen.
Because you're going to die with regret, or you're going to have like grudges.
There's also like, for me, like when I finally did that, and like, cause I was also in the corporate world and I left it, I, burned my ties and my long sleeve shirts. And there's also a sense of like guilt because you're doing a selfish thing. It's selfish in a way, like this is for me and fuck everything and I'm going to do this,
Yeah. It's because we're not taught that.
Yeah.
We're not taught that. That's not part of our culture growing up. It's like, you take care of you, and that's like learning how to love that voice inside you that's ambitious and wants to do something that they're not doing. I think I grew up like squashing that voice or not telling anybody about that because that's not realistic. It's not like those are not the standards that your family have put there for you to do. And breaking those standards is the hardest thing ever, And it's not until now that like, it wasn't until a few years ago, I think that like my parents were just like, my mom's my number one fan, obviously. She loves the shows. But even then, she's always like, they always just want us to have health insurance. It's like whatever job you get health insurance, get that and keep it. Because that's important, mijo. And I'm like, retirement for what? For when I'm old? Like, I need that money now, But they know stuff we don't know, too, that we're going to get old one day.
When you were in the South touring out there in those countries, is that where you, like, started to listen to Tropicalia, or was that something
totally. I went down there. When I went to go, what I did is, when I was going to graduate from USC, I was, like, bummed. I was like, that's it. I was like, I'm 21 years old. Like I even did the fast track in like 4 years to get out of college, and I did everything. And I'm like, man, I need to go somewhere. So I was like, I'm gonna go to Brazil. Like, I don't know the language. I don't know nothing about Brazil. So I ended up. You didn't
feel developed like as a human.
No, I was like, what? All my friends are getting masters. A master's in what? We're 22 years old. What could be masters at? Like, we haven't lived anything. It's all books. It's all like lingo and like coined terms that we're tossing at each other. Professors are tossing to professors, and nobody outside of the academic world is reading about this. Like, it's not on the paper, It's like some of the stuff needs to be. Some of these journals you be reading, like, how the hell does nobody know about this? It's like, it's because it's some like, like professor like language, it's elitist, I was like, I don't want to do that, especially because my hat was gentrification. So I would be doing that with gentrification. So I was like, man, let's do something different. So I went to Brazil and then I picked up Tranza, which is my first album I bought, CD at a store with Caetano Veloso. And I was like, damn. And then I picked up Os Mutanchis, and then I picked up like Tom Zé, and I just kept going. And I'm like, wow, it's just really, really like before that I was really into like jazz. Miles Davis like jazz fusion, Mahavishnu Orchestra and that kind of thing, Return of Forever. And I was a big metalhead, so I was huge into metal. But then Tropicalia just like it made everything fresh, and it made everything disorganized and organized, and it gave like freedom to do whatever you want with music, and it was politicized. So I was like, oh, what? They're like, fools are getting killed to do this, and that inspired me a lot. And so that's that. And the other thing I learned too about listening to Brazilian music is, and living in Brazil, is how beautiful the music is. And I remember hearing like people just play sambas in the street, like not just like, anybody, or like on the bus. And I just remember thinking like, man, this music is so beautiful. And I spent a long time trying to like learn rhythms and like this and that. And then it really opened my eyes to be like, well, if this music is beautiful in Brazil, like what is the beautiful music of Mexico? You know? So then I started touching up like La Época de Oro and like old Juan Gabriel stuff and Solis and you know, like I was like, wow, this is beautiful, man. Yeah. So I found the beauty in Mexican music. And I think that's where I'm at now. Where like instead of chasing all these rhythms that are not native to the country that my family came from, I just learned the like my original like music. And I'm not like trying to talk like African music and like this tribal. No, like our shit's fucking norteñas, you know, and cumbias and like that's like roots music, you know. Even like the chafa chicoche shit, you know, that they're like synthesized the cumbias or the merengues. Like that's my roots music, you know. That's what I grew up. So it's like, why don't I just learn that legit? And then I've learned it so much to where I go to the Dominican fools and the Cubans that are actually like did it, and I'm like, there you go. That's where you're okay. So you guys were trying to do that. You guys suck. I was like, I can pick it up from here. Like I'll pick it up from right here, and I'll do my version, knowing the same sources you listen to. So that's kind of where I see myself at. It's just like an agent of like Mexican folklore, to push it to the next level, and not giving no fucks about like if it's traditional or not. I take what I need, like in Tropicalia, and I'm still gonna go talk to the tia in the back. You know, that's basically that's definitely my audience still.
I want to touch on a couple more things before we finish here, but I really appreciate the aesthetic of your videos, like in Iguana and I mean Marijuana, and like the quality of it being like intentionally like, you know, cheap in a way, but also like done so well. So I was just wondering like who does your visuals for you and something like that, because it's pretty amazing.
Lorena Andara, my wife.
No way.
She does it all.
She's also a great photographer who also did the cover of your
Nariz,
book.
Nariz, and then she did a art book in there.
Yeah, that's right.
She's done all like all my photography.
I only own 2 vinyls, and that's one of them.
Oh, really? Oh, damn.
Yours and El Harukuro is 192, 192.
Oh, I have that one. That was great. The one, the brown cover.
Yeah.
I like that. She does all that, and it took a while to understand each other and what it is like for Marijuana video. For us, we're just like, man, it was an epic project.
Dude, it's
epic
so
undertaking.
Fucking good.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
So my main thing behind that was like having watched all those Cochino Univision films, you know, on Channel 22, Alfonso Sayas and all that. I was like, there's a certain kind of like movement and like comedy thing about that I remember.
And it matches the music perfectly. The colors and the movement. I mean, like even your dance steps and that. It's just like, how do you even fucking think of that?
My wife, she did a storyboard, a mood board and a storyboard. And then we got some 8mm to shoot. And
8mm.
Yeah.
Also wasn't even video.
No, it was like,
wow.
So we couldn't see we had to perform it and then move on, and we could not see if it came out good or not. So, and that's expensive, yo. Like getting that film and renting the equipment, it's just like, you know, we could have done it easier on a Nikon.
Yeah, easily.
But no, it's just like the aesthetic needed to be there.
It's really good.
And even the scenes, my cousin Letty, she did all the costumes for all my stuff. Every character on this, she did all the costumes. She's super creative, and my fam. So, and then just choosing some iconic LA locations. Yeah. I'm always I'm from the city, you know, and I just embrace it. And I go to the spots to where like, if you know, you know. You know, I don't have to be like, oh, here on Whittier Boulevard. It's like, no. I'm like coming out of, you know, Texas Donuts on Arizona, and if you know, you know. And that's my style. Like, I don't need to like jump on. Like, I'm not gonna intro it for you. You know, if you want to intro it, like, you know, that
love it.
Do your work. You know, but I'm gonna pick up right here from where I'm doing my thing.
The last little thing that I wanted to also get to is I mean, you guys are considered at this point right now like probably the most successful like band out of East LA right now. You know, I mean, of course, Los Lobos and Nozomatli and all that, but you guys are up there, you know. La Santa Cecilia, and like what are still like just because I think people get this idea that once you're like on TV and once you're everything, it's like, oh, you made it like forever, you never have to worry about a thing again. But I just wonder, because I also don't know, like what are still like the obstacles or like hurdles financially, or like, or, I mean, are you guys set for life, or is there still like something that you guys still like struggle with,
You never make it.
Right? It's a constant
it's a constant thing. It's like you want to feel like you made it. I mean, unless you got a couple million in the bank. But then even then your mentality changes and you still need more.
And you spend more.
And then you have more liabilities. And so you know what you make, say you made yourself a different lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I think behind the art and behind the music and everything, like there's got to be more.
Yeah.
And Olmeca told me about this a long time ago, like more than 10 years ago. He's like, hey, fool. So like, I know you're doing this music thing, boo, but like music can't be what you're chasing, dog. Like what are you going to do with music? Yeah. You got to ask yourself that question, dog. And I'm like, shut up, fool. You don't play instruments, fool. I play instruments. Olmeca's, I rock with Olmecas for so many years. I helped him co-produce one of his albums. We worked a lot together. Yeah. So ever since he told me that, I always remember like, that's true. Like, what do I want to do? And financially, look, as a band at this level, if you're not going on tour, you're not gonna make money. If you don't have good t-shirt designs, bro, you're not gonna sell t-shirts, bro.
Merch.
If you're gonna get
ShopRafa.com, don't forget.
Rafa.com.
ShopRafa.com.
ShopRafa.com. Subscribe to his YouTube.
Yes.
If you don't have a cool design, you're not gonna sell t-shirts. If you want to make it as a musician, you're gonna sell t-shirts. Yeah. and vinyl and all that. You got to get into some good partnerships.
Yeah.
You got to give up more to make more.
Damn.
You can't keep it all. You want to, but the amount of level of commitment and work that takes and connections is huge. It's a lot of work. So what do we do now? I think if we wanted to be millionaires, we'd be on the road probably for the next 2 years, 300 days out of the year.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But then in those 2 years, what happened? Like I didn't see my baby for him to be like, 1 to 3 years old. Yeah. Our relationships at home will suffer, and our health will suffer. So it's not the 90s where like the label puts you out on the road. Like you can make choices. And I think the one thing is, where's the balance between the quality of life and doing the things you want to do? And like, how much do you need? You know what I'm saying? How much money do you need? More is always cool. You can always buy more things. I always joke with my wife. I'm like, man, if I made $1 million, what'd be the first thing I'd do? Like what? I'd be like tip my windows. I'm like, I always say on my 96 Acura Integra, I tip the windows. She like, Eduardo. I was like, what? This is just, just like finish off the little things, and then save the money. And
the little tiny things you always want.
Always want to save the money and then just live off the interest, and then keep searching for like, I think my wife was the one that taught me like, if you constantly think about money, then it's not gonna come if you're not really thinking about the things you love to do. And I'm like, that's bullshit. I was like, I'm broke. How the fuck am I gonna think about the things I love? But then after the solid year of focusing on that, I was like, oh, this is true. Yep. This is true. And I think another challenge is you got to still love it. Yeah. You got to, how do you still love something after 13 years? Because you can grow apart like in a week. Yeah. So what makes it worth it to keep doing it? Yeah. And we're also working with each other, and everybody has different needs all the time. And that's really hard for bands to stay together. A lot of people are like, oh, you guys are still the original members? Like, yeah. Like, what's weird about that? Yeah. But we like to suffer, you know what I'm saying? And like, that's how we stay together. We grew up Catholic, bro.
Porque quieres.
Sufridos. Nos vamos a quedar juntos para siempre. So that's one of the things. Like, you got to still love to do it. If we can land some stuff on movies, video games, that kind of thing. That's always like the big thing. Like like, or come out in a
Licensing,
movie.
right?
Licensing, you know.
Yeah.
And there's so many directions to take
Yeah.
in music. You could be a touring band, or you know, just stop touring and do albums and be as most creative as you can. But you know, I think it's just like you got to still love what you're doing, and the relations have to be. You have to check your relations, man. You have to make sure that you're really like giving it, and that you're respecting each other's needs.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I want to tell you that I really appreciate you coming here and opening up and sharing with us all these insights about your life. So many more things that we could talk about. So hopefully one day in the future we'll bring you back in. A last question to you is a question that I ask everybody is you have to answer this in one sentence. And the whole world wants to know how people do it in your world. And so, Eduardo Arenas, how do you do it? Oh, come on. How do you do it?
Let's see. This is not one sentence.
Don't think. How do you do it?
My wife said the other day. He's like, there's only one person que tiene más aguante que tú.
Mm-hmm.
And that's John McClane from Die Hard. We watched Die Hard the other day. And then, you know, I grew up with John McClane, like Die Hard. I love those movies. And when you're a kid, that's like, you think that's like some shit's real, you know?
Yeah.
But, bro, yo tengo aguante.
Mm-hmm.
I can go forever. My battery, I get it from my mom. And the way I do it, man, puro pinche ganas.
Puro pinche ganas. There it is.
If you don't have ganas, you ain't got shit.
Yeah, yeah. How do you translate ganas in English?
Gotta have the willpower to go way beyond physical.
Willpower with desire.
To go beyond the things that you think you're able to do. You gotta want it. You gotta be hungry for it.
Puro pinche ganas.
Puro pinche ganas. If you don't have ganas, then your shit's not gonna be fire.
And on that note, thank you and good night.